Hello there, Saber fans. Shamim here. It's Graflex time. For the last time. So for those of you who have seen Star Wars The Last Jedi, Episode 8, you of course know that our beloved Graflex lightsaber exploded! Boom! And this was sad, yes, but it also gives prop makers like myself an opportunity to do something new and something quite fun. And that's what we have here. This is a Roman Props Gen 1 Graflex flashgun that has been, blown in half, like the Graflex in the film. After Rey and Kylo are both using the Force to try and bring the Graflex over to their side, the Graflex splits right down the middle, and a big explosion, and then at the end of the film, you see Rey holding the two halves of the Graflex, very disheartened. How are we going to build the rebellion, from this? Holding the broken remains of Luke Skywalker's legacy, and Leia reaches over and says, "We have everything that we need." Is that referring to the Kyber crystal inside the Graflex? Is that referring just to Rey, the new Last Jedi, and, the rest of the Resistance fighters on the Falcon, or a little bit of both? Either way, I knew as soon as I saw The Last Jedi that I had to be the first person to build the broken Graflex from The Last Jedi film. And as far as I'm aware, I am. I haven't seen anyone else do the version of the Graflex as seen in Episode 8. So I'm pretty proud to be able to say that I have the first one. This is a static hilt. There's no electronics installed inside. I thought about adding an accent LED to the crystal here in the bottom half, but I decided that I wanted the lightsaber to be dead. I didn't want any signs of life. This isn't a, sacrifice Obi-Wan Kenobi where it's just sputtering to life, a little bit of sound, a little bit of light, very crackly, staticky. I wanted it to be dead. This Graflex is dead and gone and will be buried and remembered. That's how I feel anyway. So with all that said, let's take a look at the two halves of the lightsaber, starting with the top half. This is an unconverted flash gun, meaning your bulb release, your contact bulb pin is still exactly as it is. These are all the original flash electronics inside. There are no lightsaber electronics. Your red button presses in and out back there. A lot of weathering, excuse me, to show signs of age, but then also just to show that with the force of the explosion, some of the damage that was caused to the Graflex. And you can see right down here we have some internal electronics. This is my own imagining of what the Graflex internals may look like, with wiring and piping and conduits and electronic bits and bobs. And then I also wanted the hilt, the outside of the hilt, to flare outwards, because the explosion happened from within. It didn't crumple inward or get sawed in half. It sort of exploded and burst outward. So that's what I imagine when I look at the two halves, that the two halves burst out, and that's why the hilt is the way that you see it. The idea is that you have a couple support rods, and then in the middle you have sort of a claw contraption that would go onto the top of your crystal. And again, you have 3 or 4 support rods going on either side of the crystal, and then a base that you see in there. And everything inside has been hand-painted, hand-weathered. This was all achieved using Dremel, using a grinding wheel, a lot of aluminum black, and a lot of hand paint. A lot of time went into building and designing the internal crystal chamber from scratch. We've got some cuts and chips in the clamp card itself. You see some browning and bluing up here along the right where the explosion happened. Similar to the side vents of the Kylo Ren lightsaber, where all the unstable exhaust from the cracked kyber crystal is bursting out from. It makes those side emitters look very burnt. And so I wanted to achieve a similar effect right along the edges where the kyber crystal cracked and exploded the lightsaber in half here. Your pommel weathered. Here's your Cobalt D-ring aligned for the Force Awakens configuration. And I also built the pieces so that it would sort of go together, that you could sort of tell from the shape of the explosion that this is where the pieces would go together if the lightsaber was not broken, but that it really did split in half. And it's not a perfect fit, because I imagine that parts of the lightsaber also, you know, broke off and exploded and went here and there, and some got evaporated in the, or vaporized in the explosion, or lost in the ensuing chaos. Rey didn't pick up every little shard. She just picked up the two biggest pieces. So that's what I imagine that you have here. Rey picking up the two biggest pieces, holding the lightsaber, and how are we going to build the rebellion just from this? So along with the Graflex, I also put together a little display box. Just because, you know, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I really love the idea of the shards of Narsil, you know, Elendil and Isildur's sword, being displayed on a cloth in the nice table here in Rivendell, where it's like, very reverent holding of the prop. And so I decided just to make a little display box that, you know, your lightsaber could go in here, and it could be sort of a similar reverent place for your the remains of the broken lightsaber to rest, almost like a casket. I designed this to be almost like a casket that you would bury, you know, a dead loved one in. So yeah, there you have it, guys. No electronics to show off this time. This is a quartz crystal that I've painted with, it's just permanent marker, actually, and then clear-coated the entire thing with a gloss clear Rust-Oleum spray paint. I'm really happy with how this turned out. And as a huge Graflex fan, I'm super sad that we no longer get to see the Graflex functioning on film, but I'm happy with how it went. Like, this was a unique death for a lightsaber. We've seen lightsabers get cut in half by other lightsabers or by machinery, like in episode 2. And we've seen them taken out in a variety of different ways. And I'm glad that Kylo didn't just, you know, cut the Graflex in half or something with his lightsaber, or it tumbled down a cliff into a volcano or something. I'm glad that something unique happened to the Graflex. You know, two Force wielders, very similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin when they do the Force push against each other in Revenge of the Sith, and then it explodes and it sends them backwards. Sort of a reverse of that. They're using the Force pull to try and pull this conduit of the Force, this kyber crystal, this lightsaber, this legacy of Luke Skywalker, to either the light or the dark side, and it splits down the middle. Again, reinforcing the concept in all of The Last Jedi, which is balance. Darkness rises and the light to meet it. So it's cool that the legacy of Star Wars was ripped in two and is now balanced between the light and the dark. So interesting to see where the legacy of the Graflex goes in episode 9, whether we'll see any aspect of it or any part of it back. Will Rey rebuild the lightsaber? Will she use the kyber crystal from inside here, or the remains of the kyber crystal, to build her own lightsaber? A lot of fan theories going around. Who knows what's going to happen? We're going to have to wait 2 years to see what happens with our beloved Graflex. But for now, this is the episode 8 version of the Graflex as we see at the end of the film. Just to clarify, I've seen the film 3 times now, and I didn't use any reference photos. I know that there are some like leaked photos and leaked videos that were illegally obtained that you can go and find and search online, but I didn't use any of those reference pics. This is purely based on my own recollection of the film and my own vision as an artist. So I'm not saying that this is a screen accurate version of how the lightsaber was ripped in half or how the internals of the lightsaber look. This is just my own artistic interpretation of the final stage of our beloved Graflex. Thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.